From the very beginning, I want to make it clear that I have a profound dislike for my sister. My feelings towards her are deeply rooted. I genuinely despise her from the depths of my heart. She is, without a doubt, an incredibly unpleasant individual, a complete brat who shows no concern for anyone but herself. What aggravates me the most is her unwavering belief that she deserves everything she desires, regardless of the consequences. I find her utterly intolerable, and I believe that everyone in our family recognizes this reality. Our tumultuous relationship dates back to our high school years. The first major conflict arose when she attempted to flirt with my prom date, and he eventually confided in me about her advances. Given that there's minimal age difference between us, I am just a year older, competition has always been a constant in our lives. Our parents never intervened to mitigate this rivalry, likely because they had already resigned themselves to the idea that we would never get along after middle school. From our early childhood, we simply couldn't see eye to eye, and this lack of harmony might have been exacerbated by our close age proximity, which didn't provide enough of a gap to help reduce the intensity of our competition. We were perpetually trying to outdo one another, whether it was for our parents' affection and attention during our younger years, later shifting to the attention of our friends in school, and eventually, competing for the attention of boys. This rivalry was incessant, and despite our parents' attempts to force us together and make us spend time with each other, we never managed to bond. Unlike many siblings who eventually grow out of such rivalry, we remained in constant competition. I believe much of this ongoing conflict stems from my sister's inherently difficult nature. As I've mentioned, she has always been a challenging person to deal with. Even as children, I would sometimes attempt to set aside our competitive nature and be kind to her, but she consistently rebuffed my efforts. As I matured and became more self-aware, I made a conscious decision to stop trying to befriend her. She had made it abundantly clear that she had no intention of getting along with me and was always intent on making my life harder. From the moment she was born, she has been nothing short of a little demon. There's no other way to describe her. I cannot find any redeeming qualities in her, and it baffles me how she managed to attract so many boys, ultimately leading her to her fiancé. His presence in her life remains a complete mystery to me. However, I suppose it's appropriate to refer to him as her ex-fiancé now, considering that he left her at the altar. I doubt they will marry or continue their relationship, which, in my opinion, is beneficial for him. He genuinely is a kind-hearted person who deserves someone better. Unfortunately, my parents are extremely upset with me because they believe that I caused the breakup between my sister and her fiancé. They view my actions as ruining everything out of jealousy, and this has led to significant tension within the family. I'm left questioning whether my actions were justified or not, and I want to delve into the details to explore this further. Melissa, my sister, and her fiancé Theo had been together for 5 years, both being 25 years old. Their relationship began in college, and over these 5 years, I had met Theo numerous times during family gatherings and holidays. He always seemed like a genuinely nice individual, polite to everyone, and notably the complete opposite of my sister. This made it difficult for me to understand how she managed to secure a relationship with him, especially since her previous relationships were with rather unsuitable guys and none of them lasted more than 2 to 3 months. Between the ages of 16 and 20, she dated almost 8 different guys before finally settling with Theo. I don't hold this against her entirely, as she was just a teenager who didn't fully understand what she was doing. However, I honestly didn't anticipate her relationship with Theo lasting as long as it did. I was genuinely surprised when they celebrated 5 years together, and Theo proposed to her at an anniversary party he had organized. I thought she had finally changed for the better and was genuinely serious about Theo, which would have been a positive development. However, after their engagement, I started hearing unsettling things from people at school, particularly concerning Theo's character. These rumors were not flattering to Melissa. Several individuals claimed that for the past 5 years, she had been presenting herself as single to many people. She had even been on a few dates with guys from school and had matched with several individuals on dating apps. Unfortunately, these were merely rumors, and there was no substantial evidence to support these claims. This made it impossible for me to address the issue openly without risking being seen as someone who spreads malicious gossip about her within the family. These rumors only began to surface after their engagement when Melissa posted about it on social media, causing quite a stir within our social circles at school. I chose to remain silent, hoping that none of these rumors held any truth because, from what I could see, Theo was genuinely and deeply in love with her. They had been engaged for 8 months, and I had kept these suspicions to myself, planning to continue doing so. However, a recent development changed my perspective entirely. For the past 2 years, I have been dating my boyfriend, Alex. Our relationship has been growing increasingly serious, and I have recently started bringing him to family events as well. At my age, I am dating someone seriously because I genuinely want to start a family. My immediate family is aware of how committed I am to Alex. Despite the animosity between Melissa and me, we are still forced to see each other every weekend for family dinners. Our parents have made it explicitly clear that no matter how much conflict exists between us, we must present a united front to our relatives, maintaining civility during family gatherings, dinner parties, and holidays. Recently, my father's health has declined, prompting him to enforce a rule that we must come together for dinner every weekend. These dinners last only a few hours each week, allowing us to tolerate the situation without engaging in any meaningful conversation. We maintain communication with our parents but avoid interacting with each other, making the dynamic quite complicated. A few weeks ago, I informed my parents that Alex and I were considering getting engaged in a couple of months, soon after Melissa's wedding. Our relationship was becoming serious, and given that we had been friends for 2 years before dating, Melissa was well aware of my feelings for Alex. Despite this, she decided to make a move on him just a week before her own wedding. This incident occurred last week during a final dinner hosted by my parents to celebrate the upcoming wedding. It was an intimate gathering with only family members and a few close friends present. After dinner, I took a walk in the garden to get some fresh air. When I returned to the house, I overheard someone speaking in a seductive tone in the kitchen. Curious, I peeked into the room and was shocked to see my boyfriend, Alex, and my sister, Melissa, together. Under normal circumstances, this would have enraged me, but what I saw was simply bizarre. Melissa had cornered Alex, who was trying to distance himself by pressing his back against the wall. She was actively trying to flirt with him, suggesting that if he ever became bored with me, he knew whom to call. I was utterly disgusted and furious, so I forcefully pushed the door open and stood in the doorway with my arms crossed, glaring at her and challenging her to respond. However, she merely smiled smugly and walked past me as if nothing had happened, fully aware that I had overheard everything. After she left, Alex approached me to explain that he hadn't done anything improper. I didn't need much convincing because I trusted him and could tell from his demeanor that he was genuinely uncomfortable with the situation. He explained that he had gone to the kitchen to get a bottle of water, but Melissa had followed him inside and shut the door. He had attempted to leave, but she blocked his way, cornering him and making unwanted advances. The unfortunate truth is that this wasn't the first time Melissa had tried to pursue my boyfriend. On several occasions, her attempts had even been successful, leading some of my friends to cheat on me with her. My parents were aware of these incidents but still forced us to remain together. Whenever I threatened to sever ties with them, they emotionally manipulated me, making it difficult for me to break away because, aside from the issues with my sister, they had generally treated me well. Melissa wasn't exactly the golden child either, as she also received criticism from our parents. However, I can't entirely blame them because her behavior was largely beyond their control. They were simply trying their best to maintain family harmony. After the incident last week, I reached my breaking point. Even though Melissa and Theo were engaged, her inability to keep her hands to herself and her persistent attempts to undermine me could no longer be tolerated. I realized that her actions were not about her and Alex but rather about her own need to compete with me constantly. Consequently, I decided to confide in my mother about what had transpired, as she was the first person I spoke to after Alex informed me of the situation. I pulled her aside and detailed everything, including the rumors I had heard from my friends about Melissa's deceitful behavior and her attempts to cheat on Theo even after their engagement. My mother was taken aback, and I expected her to encourage me to do the right thing. Instead, she implored me to keep everything quiet and not to discuss it with anyone. I couldn't believe what she was suggesting because, despite everything, I had always viewed my parents as upright individuals who would support me in preventing Theo from marrying someone as untrustworthy as Melissa. Instead, she begged me to maintain a facade of happiness for the sake of the wedding, leaving any repercussions to unfold naturally afterward. This interaction with my mother shattered any remaining hope I had for family normalcy. It became evident that Melissa was simply a terrible person and that my parents, no matter how much they pretended otherwise, were siding with her. They were either encouraging her bad behavior or turning a blind eye to it, trying their best to make the family work despite her actions. After Alex and I left that day, I felt a surge of frustration. I had always believed that my parents would eventually do the right thing, but it became clear that they would always prioritize Melissa above everything else. Upon returning home, Alex shared some encouraging news that lifted my spirits. He had accidentally started recording a video while Melissa was making unwanted advances on him, capturing clear evidence of her behavior. This video, along with a list of malicious rumors I had compiled from my friends, gave me the means to take matters into my own hands. Without hesitation, I composed an email detailing all the nasty rumors about Melissa that I had gathered and attached the incriminating video as evidence. I sent this email directly to Theo, hoping that he would see the truth and understand why Melissa was not the right person for him. Initially, I wasn't sure what to expect after sending the email, but I certainly didn't anticipate complete silence. The next day, Alex and I awaited responses, expecting at least a few messages from concerned friends or family members. However, our inboxes remained empty, and everyone continued with their lives as if nothing had happened. We waited for several hours, hoping something would change by evening, but still, there was no response. My mother even called me for a normal conversation, which only added to my confusion. It seemed that Theo had received the email and watched the video, but he chose to ignore everything we had presented. Both Alex and I were slightly disappointed, believing that we could have made a difference, but it simply wasn't meant to be. A week passed, and yesterday, we attended Melissa's wedding. Given the recent events, we were all surprised that the wedding was still happening, especially after the email we had sent to Theo. Everything was proceeding smoothly, and Alex and I were left feeling perplexed since nothing had happened at the rehearsal dinner. Both Melissa and Theo appeared deeply in love, and Theo greeted us warmly, leaving me to wonder if he hadn't even opened the email. I didn't have the heart to ask him to check his inbox, sensing that fate was steering him towards staying with Melissa, and I didn't want to interfere or cause more trouble. Despite having sent the email, I had lost all hope. However, during the wedding ceremony, something extraordinary occurred. As Theo stood at the altar, after Melissa had recited her vows, it was his turn. Instead of proceeding with his vows, he began discussing a particular email he had received a week prior. Alex and I exchanged bewildered glances, fully aware of what was about to unfold. Theo proceeded to read the contents of the email and even played the video aloud for everyone to hear. It was clear from the video that both Melissa's and Alex's voices were audible, creating an incredibly awkward situation as all eyes were on us. After presenting the evidence, Theo announced that he had taken a week to contemplate his actions and decide what to do. During this time, he hadn't spoken to anyone about what he had seen, but he had now discussed the rumors listed in the email with others. It turned out that most of the allegations were true. He had even spoken to a few guys from Melissa's school who confirmed, with photographic evidence, that she had indeed been on dates with them over the past 5 years while being in a relationship with him. Given this revelation, Theo felt that ending the relationship was the only appropriate course of action. He chose that very moment to leave Melissa at the altar, believing that after everything that had transpired, he deserved a moment of satisfaction and perhaps a sense of revenge. His departure left the venue in stunned silence, and Melissa descended into a state of complete panic and hysteria. The guests were left bewildered, unsure whether the wedding was still on, and eventually, Melissa's in-laws took over, asking everyone to leave after lunch as the minimum courtesy for all the guests present. While some stayed for the meal, Alex and I left as quickly as possible, still processing the surreal events. Despite the chaos, we were relieved that Theo had chosen to leave Melissa, as he truly deserved someone who genuinely loved him rather than someone who was using him as an option. Upon returning home that day, I wasn't sure what to expect. Late into the night, my mother finally called me, which I had anticipated. She accused me of being vindictive and claimed that I had always been jealous of Melissa, asserting that her getting married before me was the reason I ruined her wedding. She expressed deep disappointment in both my actions and my character, equating me to my sister by stating that I was always trying to outdo her just as she had tried to undermine me. This shattered me emotionally, and I found myself struggling to defend my actions in my mind. I was deeply hurt by her accusations and left wondering if I was truly the antagonist in this situation. Alex assured me that I wasn't, as he was naturally on my side being my boyfriend, but I still yearned for validation from others regarding whether I was in the wrong. Fast forward to 1 week after the wedding debacle, I learned that Melissa and Theo had indeed broken up, a fact corroborated by a few friends. Despite Melissa spreading rumors that I was responsible for the breakup, it was clear that her own deceitful actions were the real cause. I couldn't comprehend why this was being portrayed as my fault, and I refused to blame myself for something that wasn't my doing. Even though I had internalized my mother's gaslighting, convincing me that I was at fault, I realized that I had done the right thing by exposing Melissa's true nature. I reflected on the comments from my original post and concluded that, while I had engaged in rivalry with my sister, I had never stooped to hitting on her boyfriends or making her life miserable intentionally. My competition with her was begrudgingly mutual, but it never involved betraying her in the way she had betrayed me. In contrast, Melissa had proven herself to be a serial cheater, and by revealing her true colors, I had actually protected Theo from a lifetime of deception. My mother had attempted to maintain the family's reputation at the expense of someone else's well-being, and I couldn't stand by and allow that. If Melissa had married Theo, they would likely end up divorcing, which would have been far more damaging and messy. By intervening, I saved everyone a great deal of trouble. My parents, if they still chose to side with her, were free to do so, but I had already blocked them and made it clear that I no longer wished to maintain contact. As for Melissa, her indifference towards others' feelings meant I had no reason to extend any courtesy to her. I was genuinely pleased that she was now facing the consequences of her actions. If she didn't want Theo to leave her, she should have been a better partner, not someone who continuously sought to undermine me. Additionally, some commenters suggested that I might have had feelings for Theo, which supposedly motivated me to sabotage their relationship. I firmly deny this. While I did attempt to sabotage their relationship, it was driven by concern for Theo rather than any romantic feelings. Even if my actions were influenced by my rivalry with Melissa, they were ultimately justified because they led to a positive outcome for Theo. My intentions were pure, I wanted what was best for him, and I don't believe that meant I harbored any inappropriate feelings towards him. Moreover, I have Alex, who has been with me for 2 years, and I love him more than anything. I have no interest in Theo beyond that, and any theories suggesting otherwise are baseless and insulting. My original post made it clear that my focus was on my relationship with Alex, and I am confident in the correctness of my actions. Most of the feedback I received was supportive, so I feel no need to elaborate further. Alex and I are content with how things have unfolded, despite my parents choosing not to speak to me anymore. Their unwavering support for Melissa, despite her proven deceitfulness, leaves me bewildered, but I no longer seek reconciliation with them. They have demonstrated that I am not a priority and that doing the right thing is not valued by them. Ultimately, we all have the freedom to make our own choices, and Alex and I are exercising that freedom. Update 1 ***. Hello everyone, it's been a week since the chaotic events at Melissa's wedding, and the aftermath is still unfolding. The wedding has been called off, and Theo has definitively left Melissa. This is based on information I received from a few friends who confirmed that Melissa has been spreading false accusations, claiming that I was the one who caused the breakup. In reality, Melissa's persistent cheating and her attempt to woo my boyfriend were the true reasons for their split. I still don't understand how this situation was painted as my fault, and I refuse to blame myself for something that was clearly Melissa's doing. My mother tried to manipulate me into thinking that I was responsible, but I have come to realize that my actions were necessary to prevent further deceit and harm. Upon reviewing the comments on my original post, I did some introspection and acknowledged that perhaps I did engage in competition with my sister as much as she did with me. However, despite this rivalry, I never justified her actions or participated in her schemes. I maintain my integrity by not pursuing her boyfriends or intentionally making her life difficult. Melissa, on the other hand, was unrepentant, a serial cheater who constantly sought to undermine me. By exposing her, I protected Theo and others from being hurt by her manipulative behavior. My mother attempted to uphold the family's reputation by silencing me, but I believe that preserving someone's feelings and well-being is more important than maintaining a facade of perfection. I also want to address those who suggested that I had feelings for Theo, implying that my actions were driven by romantic interest. This is categorically false. My attempts to sabotage their relationship were fueled by concern for Theo's well-being, not by any hidden affection. I have been with Alex for 2 years, and my love and commitment to him are unwavering. Any insinuations that I had ulterior motives are not only unfounded but also deeply offensive. My primary motivation was to ensure that Theo was not deceived by Melissa's false pretenses. I acted out of integrity, not spite or jealousy, and I stand by my actions as being the right thing to do. The majority of the feedback I received has been supportive, and I appreciate that. Alex and I are moving forward happily, unaffected by my parents' decision to sever ties with me. Their continued support for Melissa, despite her actions, only reinforces my decision to prioritize my own happiness and well-being. Update 2 ***. Greetings, it's been nearly 2 weeks since Melissa and Theo called off their wedding, and I have some significant news to share. Today, I finally received a response from Theo himself, which came as a complete surprise. Given the circumstances of our previous interactions and the fact that I had essentially sabotaged his wedding by exposing Melissa's true nature, I wasn't sure he would ever reach out to me. We weren't particularly close friends before all this happened, so I didn't know what to expect. However, I was genuinely pleased when he contacted me. A few hours ago, Theo sent me an email in response to the one I had sent him 3 weeks before his wedding. In his message, he expressed that he hadn't had the chance to thank me earlier because he was still processing his feelings and unsure of how to handle the situation. He admitted that he had been avoiding me because he needed time to come to terms with everything that had happened. Now that the truth was out in the open, he felt compelled to express his gratitude for my honesty and for looking out for his best interests. Theo shared that he had harbored some reservations about Melissa over the years but had always dismissed them, believing that the rumors were unfounded because no one had the courage to confront him with the truth directly. He appreciated that I was the only person who took the initiative to inform him, allowing him to make an informed decision about his relationship. Theo emphasized that he didn't want to delve into my motives, as doing so would only complicate matters further, but he wanted to acknowledge the positive impact my actions had on his life. I was heartened by his message, understanding that my intentions were purely to help him avoid a lifelong deception. While I still feel a sense of sorrow for Theo, knowing that he was deeply in love with Melissa, I discussed this development with Alex, and we both agree that this outcome is ultimately better for him in the long run. We hope that Theo will find true happiness and a genuine partnership in the future, free from the manipulations and deceit that characterized his relationship with Melissa. Update 3 ***. Hello everyone, I have a brief but exciting update to share. 3 months ago, I shared my intention to marry Alex and mentioned that we were planning to get engaged. Well, I am thrilled to announce that 2 days ago, Alex proposed to me and I happily accepted. We are now officially engaged and looking forward to our future together. In the coming days, we will be hosting an engagement party to celebrate this joyous occasion. We have decided not to invite our parents to the celebration since they have not made any effort to reach out to us or reconcile after the recent events. It's clear that our relationship with them has deteriorated beyond repair, and we no longer expect any acknowledgement or support from them. I shared the news of my engagement on social media, and while my parents didn't offer any congratulations, our relatives and friends were quick to do so, showing their support and agreement with the decisions we made. It's evident that they recognize the rightness of our actions, unlike my parents who continue to behave poorly. At this point, I have stopped expecting anything from my parents, understanding that they will continue to side with Melissa regardless of her actions. Their support for her, despite her proven dishonesty, leaves me bewildered, but Alex and I are content with how things have turned out. We prioritize our happiness and each other above the fractured relationships with our parents. This engagement marks a new beginning for us, filled with hope and love, and that's all that matters right now.